1, 2, 3, a 2, 2, 3. Oops. Oh well. We're here now. Very cool. So this one goes out to Adrian and let's see here, Adrian and Joelle. Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm that. So Adrian and Joelle, and if you're the year is 2025. So if you're seeing this later, how's it going? This tune was great, and I thought of it for these guys because they're both talented. They got a lot of technique, and just something about this. I could be wrong, but I just felt like this was a good mix of like challenging, but also a little bit of quirkiness, a little bit of fun. So I don't know. It just made me think it'd be a good match for you guys. I hope I'm right. You might hate this tune, but at any rate, well, you're gonna learn it anyways. So this is a tune I always wanted to work up. So I remember hearing about it in college, and I tried to work it out a couple times, and it kind of, to be honest with you, it kind of scared me a little bit. But now that I'm coming back to it later, it's super fun tune, and just so many great things built into it. So let's just start off with the melody, right? So right there, you got this descending thirds lick thing that goes. Let me double check that tuning real quick there. All right, there you go. Tune that real quick. Hopefully it's a little bit better. So it's just the key of E flat, right? So you kind of have to decide when you want to change string sets. Let me go back here. This might actually be better for demoing this stuff. So So, real quick theory lesson. If you build thirds, it's the 1, the 4, and the 5 are major thirds. Everything else is minor thirds. So 1, 2, and 3 are minor thirds. 4 and 5 are major thirds. 6 and 7 are minor thirds. And then you're back to your tonic. So major, then 2 minor, 2 major, 2 minor. Here, I kind of like, you can go one more before you run out of neck. But at some point, you can do the 2 minor thirds there. Okay, so one more time. Which is cool because you land on that, let me see if I can zoom in here, that C, which is the third of the 4 chord, right? It's, again, it's a dominant 4 chord, so it kind of gives a nice little bluesy, and then that's what the melody kind of hints at too. So that money note right there, you can also put, I normally don't play that, that B7 sharp 5, but that definitely works, I don't know, something about me. I just felt like playing the 4 chord. There's a couple of liberties I took on these chords, and I reserve the right to be wrong, but it seemed to work for me. So, all right. Anyway, I'm over explaining it. Okay, so I kind of like I approach it that way, where I'm kind of like I'm in third position. And it's kind of, a lot of this melody kind of hints at like the 6th, the use of the 6th, which in this key is the note of C. So 5, 6, 1, 5. Then I slide up to the 6, because that, to me, that's like very bluesy, right? Six, flat, 3, 1. You can build a whole solo on that. Anyway, I digress. So there's the first, 4, or the first 8 bars of the melody. And then you do it again. This time, it's the 11th. So, man, I can't get my guitar in tune today. Hold on a second here. You ever get the feeling that your tuner's lying to you? I'm definitely having a day where I think my tuner is playing tricks on me here. So let me, I have a feeling you guys might know these chords, but just in case you didn't, see what's going on here. Hold on, millennial dealing with technology. Goodness gracious. All right, so let's talk about some chords. So up to this point, hopefully all these things are pretty standard. I mean, I might as well start from the beginning because I don't want to assume. I shouldn't assume, It's quick enough just to explain it. So what I like doing, you could do this one. I just live on because I don't want to fight the melody. When it's a guitar duo, I'm very careful about putting too many chord notes on the high E because that just might end up fighting. You want to define a space where the person in your company can cut through, and a lot of that is not having too bright of tones. I mean, the high E is kind of bright, and then range wise it starts to fight the melody too. So keep it on the B string. That's kind of served me well. And I'm doing the alternate bass thing where we got the root and then the 5th on the same fret, so I can just right. And then it says A flat 9, but there's a fat C in the melody there. I could do this. I mean, that would sound fine. You could do that. So I might as well show you those shapes. So let me show you a garden variety A flat, right? This is 4th fret. Now you could put the 9 here. That would be the 9th, right? This would be root, flat 7, 3rd, and then this is the 5th. So I wouldn't do it so much in this song, but that's a cool thing you can kind of do with, say you have an A flat 9. You can slide that, it's basically an F minor or an E flat minor triad, so that's E flat minor. That's F minor. You know, so if I'm having like a, it's kind of like a Freddie Freeloader thing. I don't know if you know that tune. It's a Miles Davis song, Freddie Freeloader. But you hear it all the time in any kind of blues stuff. I could fill a video on just. At any rate, what I decided to do is I decided to keep the third. If I wanted to put the 9, a lot of times I save the extensions for higher voicing. So if I was playing with a bass player and there was a different instrument, I might start adding that stuff. But again, this is a guitar duo, so I'm trying to pick what I like to call high success rate, you know, voicings. They may not be the most exciting thing, but they do the job, and the job is to make it sound full and supported. And then at that point, it's your job to have a good sound, a good time. You know, a lot of times, especially when we're learning jazz chords, you know, especially I was this way when I was learning, is that you want like everything to be like this crazy voicing and like super crunchy and stuff that'll like turn people's heads. But more and more as I've gigged and, you know, probably just getting older and mellowing out, is that, man, if you just make that feel good and sound good, and you will work, you know. So A flat 7 on that one, and then going back to E flat 6 9. Oh, I forgot to label these, so A flat and 7, or you know, 9 if you want, and then this is E flat 6 9. Now, okay, talk about going off on a tangent. All right, we are back to our melody. Let's see if I can bring that up real quick. So we were here. That is going to be an 11th. So C in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So, you know, you could do you could do, you know, a G minor. And then what's the melody do there? They kind of adapt that. So instead of an E flat, it's an E natural. So instead of a G flat, it's a G natural. Again, they're just kind of bending that same idea to the chord. I don't know if you would call that sequencing or not, but it's kind of akin to that. All right, now, so that was, and the way I was playing that is I just did a 2-bar, 2-5, something about that. You know, I mean, you could do. It has a certain sound to it. I don't know. Maybe it's getting later in the day and I'm feeling like mellowed out. Something about extending the G minor. So like what I ended up doing here is you could say something like, I got rid of that and then just kept the C7 over here. You know, and to me that kind of calms it down and grounds it a little bit better. You'll see that happen a lot of times. You'll get these tunes in real books where it's like, and a lot of times, you know, I don't want to give you bad advice, but just know in the back of your mind that sometimes that stuff is flexible. They're just talking about this is kind of like this sound going back and forth, and it's not uncommon when you go check out the recordings that they'll elongate that stuff or you know, or omit certain chords altogether. You know, at any rate. Pushing ahead, so F7. Now, I think I remember I did kind of, one of the courses I did kind of like an inversion thing, so I want to talk about that. Obviously, you got your tried and true F9, your James Brown. You know, so let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to start with just F9 because, you know, I don't want to assume that people don't know it, you know. There's a root. 3rd, flat 7, and 9. This is the 8th fret. All right, but then here's a cool little walk-up thing that you can do for dominant chords. So, I mean, you can go all the way up there if you wanted to, but I'm just going to show you the first 3. So the first one is a root position F7 chord, which you probably know is a shell voicing, and then there is a first inversion of that, and that's just a fancy way of saying I'm putting the 3rd in the bass. I wrote 7 there, but technically there's no 7th in this voicing. So that's root, flat 7, and 3rd, root, and then 5th, right? If you wanted to throw the 7th in there, that'd be your flat 7. But honestly, you know, this kind of goes back to things I've said in other videos and probably said in class, that just because the chord symbol says F7 doesn't mean you have to have every single note in there. They're just saying, hey, here's this sound, and ideally grab more of these notes than not. But there's nothing wrong with just playing a triad over that, especially when it's in passing. Because then the next one here, I'm actually going to omit the root altogether. So this would be a second inversion, meaning the fifth is in the bass. There's your third, there's your flat seven. So you kind of put that stuff, and and because it is kind of like referencing the ninth, this is kind of pushing it, but it's in my heart. So I'm going to do a lovely third inversion. I'm going to put the 9 up there. So hear me out. This is kind of stretching it, I'll admit, because there's no root and there's no third in this, but that's flat 7, 5, and then there's the 9. But it follows the melody, because you got, so that kind of goes, and then you can do the same thing for A flat minor as well. So okay, I'm going to erase this. If you need to see these chords, you'll just have to rewind the video. So A flat minor 6. When you see a minor 4 chord, more often than not, a 6, it's basically melodic minor, A flat melodic. Because those two chords there, the A flat minor 6 and the D flat minor 11, they're both derivative of this sound, which is like, you could look at it a couple ways. You could look at it as an E flat scale, that you flat the 7th and the 6th. Maybe I'll show you that chordally. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited. I'll save that for the soloing stuff. So this is root 6 flat 3. Part of me wants to put the major 7th in there because it's kind of, but at that point it's a D flat chord. So maybe I'll do 2 inversions. So I'm going to do A flat minor over C flat, first inversion. That's your flat 3, there's your root, there's your 5th. This, I should be putting the 4th fret, and then this is 7th fret. And then we can grab, I didn't play this because I knew the melody was going to grab that, so I might just grab, again, try to kind of let the melody, shine, right? You'll make money sounding good, but you'll make even more money and have a better career by making other people sound good. So I just want to plant that idea in your head. If you're comping for somebody and they get a big applause, that applause is for you too. If you helped create that moment, if you help support them, which helps them play their best, that's a mindset I didn't really get until later, but yeah, I definitely want to introduce that idea that, man, that's such a good goal I would want for you, is that, you could feel as happy for somebody else having a solo that you were comping behind, that you felt like, man, we all created that moment, even though the soloist was the star and they're the one really putting it out there and being vulnerable, having to solo. But there's a lot of credit to be done for, people playing the bass, the drums, if you're chording. It's a team effort, if a solo goes well. So, and then this is the 9 sharp 11, which is exactly what happens in the melody. If I'm going back here. So, and then it goes. So you see where that melody changes. That C now becomes a C flat. Right? And that's the sharp 11th of the D flat chord, right? So I'll talk about that when it comes to soloing, because that's a common sound you're going to have. Is the minor 4, like flat 7. We call this a backdoor 2/5. All right. And it goes back to F7 again. Now that's a cool little walk up. So let's talk about that walk up. I'll show you how I played it, and then another way you can work that out. So kind of like what we did with the F7 chord with the inversions, B flat 7, we have our root position thing, right? And then if we want to walk that line up top, there's a way we can harmonize that. So we go this, and then you can think of this a couple ways. You can say it's an A flat chord. I like thinking of it as an F chord, F minor 7 with a C in the bass. I know I'm omitting the low note. Hold on a second here. Let me draw this so maybe it makes a little bit more sense. So this would be 6th fret. All right. This would be 8th fret. And then you have a diminished chord. We can just call that a C sharp diminished. Why not? Diminished 7th. So that's going to be 9th fret. I know, I can't decide. Can't decide, can I? I'm thinking there's a way to write this that makes it a little more visually appealing. And now you can kind of see how that walks up. So there's your diminished. So that, I guess if we're thinking of a C sharp diminished 7th, that's the root. That's the double flatted 7th or the 6th. But technically a fully diminished 7th has a double flatted 7th. But that's, we can talk about that another day. That's a theory lesson. And a good way to bum everybody out on the bus, on the tour bus. So yeah, I'm talking about this stuff so you learn it, not so you go and, maybe I don't know, talk about sports or movies or comedies or something like that, or TikTok. Maybe not talk about this stuff if you're, trying to be cool and get the gig. All right, and then finally, then we have our B flat first inversion. 10th fret. So that's how you could harmonize that. What I did is I did something I just did it in tenths. So that's just where I was in the moment. So, or, right? And then you got your 3, 6, 2, 5. And then all that's left, I missed in the second ending. I missed that F minor 7th. I hope they don't come and take my jazz license away. But, I was just kind of sight reading this thing, getting it up for you. So, yeah, I missed this shape. Oh, well. Get it next time. But this is a great lick right here. This little, so... So an A flat 6... Here's a good, so we know E flat 6 9, so A flat 6 is going to be this guy. That's root 6th 3rd, and that will be the 4th fret. Oakley dokley. All right, and then I love that lick. That's in terms of just like learning language. You'll hear that kind of thing all over the place. It's in blueses. It's it's a very spelling out the 1 chord. And then spelling out the 4 chord. If I can get it to work here. Hold on a second. Yeah, this guy right here. I mean, that's all over the place. What's that, Lady Madonna of the Beatles? I'm thinking of a monk tune called Rhythming. They do it in B flat. That's a great tune too, Rhythming. But the point is like, man, that's such a good... And that's how I was kind of approaching it. I started off on the 4th fret of the B string. Then I slid into that. 1, slide into the 3rd of the key, then the 5th's there, and then there's your 4. I like to slide into it. It puts a little stank on it. So, okay. Another thing I forgot to mention about the melody is I think what listening to the original Fats Waller, they kind of do this ornament, and I think this is what they do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so the way it kind of plays out is like, say you got this first one here, and then I'm gonna trill underneath that like with like an F, like a trill. So you get this thing where like, right? So after you get that first note, then you kind of get this trill. I just go up to the next note on the scale. I doing that right? All right. Do that one more time. It's tricky when I gotta switch the strings. Maybe it'd be easier if I went to the B string earlier. Let me see. One more time. I feel like there's one I'm missing there. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's enough to get you there, and you can, that gets you 90% there, and you can figure out the last 10%. So, but I think that's what's going on in the original. It's a cool thing if you can grab it, but there's nothing wrong with, what I've been telling people, I've made this comment on the last round of tunes is, when we're doing the checkpoints, if you want to experiment stuff, that's kind of like the place to try stuff out. But when we're doing like a graded performance, as much as I don't want to make you afraid to try things out, like, there was somebody that decided they wanted to do a chord melody, and they did a fine job, but I didn't rate them as high as if they'd just done a really solid statement of the melody. And the lesson I was trying to go with that was not, hey, be afraid to try new stuff. You shouldn't try new stuff. I'm not saying that. But when we're doing a graded performance, you want to get in the mindset that this is like a recording session. This is kind of a high stakes thing. I mean, I know on one hand, it's just, it's school. And, it's a big world out there outside of jazz guitar class. I mean, that's not lost on me. We can keep perspective, but we can use this situation as a way to train our mindset that, like, hey, when the stakes are high, maybe go for like more of a higher success rate thing. Maybe go for a simpler statement of the melody that is more solid and sounds good versus maybe going for something and just completely falling on your face. Now, that's always a balancing act. I don't want to discourage you from taking risks, but let's say if you are doing a graded performance and you're not quite I think that's what's going on. That's what I was missing. I was quitting one more. So, but even like that, that's cool, but it's much better. If I could play it right. So, I think you get my point. So let's get on to soloing here. So, let's kind of, I'm going to do a split screen here. Let me switch this up because I want to get more into the theory side of things. All right. So let me split up the screen. I'll be right back. I'm going to do this in pattern 1 because, I think most of this melody, with the exception of like doing those extended thirds, a lot of this can just exist kind of around third position. And, if you get this idea and kind of get comfortable doing it in this part of the neck, you want to work that out in other cages. That's great. I won't do that here, but I'm just going to kind of walk through the basic sounds. So the first one we got there is your first 4 bars. That's E flat. Super straightforward, right? So, we got your E flat. Now if that was an A flat major 7th, that would be cool, but it's an A flat dominant. So when you have a 4 dominant chord, let me switch my ink here. A dominant 4, that's going to be Lydian dominant. Now, what does that mean here? So, well, if I imagine, like, say I have my 4 chord here. Well, first of all, you're going to have a flat 3. And that actually might be it, the more I think about it. It actually is. So if you just take a major scale and flat the 3rd, and that gives you Lydian dominant. How about it? All right. So now that's kind of the sound, which is cool because it kind of like implies like a bluesy sound. I mean, you could get, you can kind of get out with it, but you can also just play it like pretty conservative and just like stay bluesy. So. And most of that's just pretty lyrical stuff. So here's what it sounds like with the changes. Now this is the 3 to a dominant 6. So dominant 6th. Let's see here. That's going to be basically what they're doing is they're getting your ear to, well, in this case, it can be an F9, but normally it would be an F minor chord. So, call me crazy. For some reason, my intuitions tell me that C Lydian dominant will work here. So let's build that real quick off the 6. So let's say we're going to make this our root. Boom, right? Oh, come on now. This is our root. So I'm going to build a dominant, Lydian dominant. Let's see what this looks like here. I want to flesh it out, see here. Ugh, come on now. So what does that kind of look like? How would that difference be? I mean, there's a lot of differences there, which is why I'm kind of like trying to X some stuff out so you can kind of see, right? So I'm kind of thinking of like, you know, just a C mixolydian, but you sharp the 4. Or you can also think of it as a G melodic minor. You know, a lot of this stuff isn't set in stone, but you know, you can reference a melodic minor, you can reference G Dorian. In that case, if you wanted to do just like a Dorian sound, which probably might be a safer bet, you could go. You're just going to lift the roots. You're going to do a sharp 1 and a sharp 4. I like relating. I know. You know, this is G Dorian. You're right. So what else can I sharp the 4? So I'm going to do a sharp 4 here, sharp 1, sharp 4. So basically, you know, make a Dorian sound. You know, that looks a lot like the Santana scale. I always associate with the Santana and like Hendrix. Allman Brothers, all that stuff. I started on classic rock. I came to jazz later. So we were in E flat. So, and then when just live in the Dorian sound. So then we are in the 2 chord. So I'm just going to start with like a dominant 7th arpeggio right there. So you can kind of see that. So again, there's our sharp 4. If you want to do Lydian dominant, you're going to add this guy. You know, I'm trying to think of this. So we'll get rid of this. We'll get rid of that. If you want to reach for it, there's another note up here. I'm not getting so far in the low notes. If you're that curious, you can find the other stuff. But it's F Lydian dominant. So. You could also just do regular F, F mixolydian, and that's a little bit easier. I guess I'm in a Lydian dominant mood today, but you know, if you want to do just F mixolydian, you know, just sharp the 4 of E flat. I believe that will do the trick. Yep, just sharp the 4. I like thinking of you know, I know I kind of started that point and didn't finish it. So I always, whenever I can, I try to think of where I'm trying to land, because the goal is, you know, these sounds are happening in a context. So, you know, this probably sounds different than, you know, when it's a 2 chord, if it hits different than if it's like an F blues. But if it's in the context of E flat, where it's a dominant 2 chord, so there's a little bit of tension. And then now finally our main event, the 4 minor. man, that minor 4 sound, oh man, what a gorgeous sound. A lot of emotion there. This is based off melodic minor, so A flat melodic minor. It's also D flat Lydian dominant. These are all fancy names that just refer to collections of notes. And what that means for us in our context, we're going to go with a flat 6 and we flat the 7. All right, so let's get rid of these guys. Flat 6 is up here. Flat 7. Flat 7, flat 6. So if I'm just thinking purely A flat melodic. So, I mean, that's cool in a world of itself, but I always like thinking because it's going to resolve basically back to kind of like a E flat sound. So I guess it goes back to F7. And then now you're kind of basically back in E flat. So I'm just going to kind of vibe out for a second on, that sound. So we got, here comes the 4. So E flat major. Natural 6, natural 7. It's definitely worth time just spending, that contrast and finding like things that you like within that. I mean, like a lot of that stuff I've transcribed or just things I've worked out through the years. But man, you will run into that sound a lot, and it's it's a little bit off the beaten path, but man, it's a great sound. And I always for me, it was a great solution just to think of that as if I just change 2 notes in the major scale, but still keep my eye on, the home key. That to me led to a lot more like lyrical playing than like now I have to completely switch gears. I'm in a completely different key, different mode. That just it didn't really translate to like fluid playing for me. But other than that, I think I pretty much covered all that stuff. Okay. Well, let me check the ending on this real quick. I do notice they have an ending written out. False alarm. It just said the first ending as originally played by. Okay. So it'll be Alright, so you can go check out the recording, but that's not an ending. When I just checked it out on the ending there, it was just a really rubato version, so. Alright, 40 minutes, that's enough torture. Hope that helps. If not, well, we'll try better next time. Take it easy.